Hello everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, the GeneaVlogger, and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. In today's video, I will be reacting to part 3 of BuzzFeed's I Found Out My Dad's Not My Biological Father Through a DNA Test. We saw part 1 and part 2. Part 1, we found out that Sam and her brother went to go take a DNA test and learned that they were donor conceived. So they didn't know who their biological father was. And then at the end of part 2, she figured out who her biological father was. At the end of part 1. Then in part 2, they go into the background of the biological father, why he donated, a little bit of just his history and what he did, and then a little bit about them meeting up. And then right at the end of the last one, she mentioned that her brother had gotten tickets from their biological father for the U.S. Open. And the mom was also going to be at the U.S. Open. So they were going to meet most likely. So that's what I think this third part is going to be about, is the biological father meeting the mother. So should be pretty interesting. I said this in the past few videos, but I kind of do hope that she kind of goes into either finding other children who were conceived through the same donor, so half siblings to her and her brother. I don't think they will go into it in this video. I wonder if she has searched for them at all. Would be interesting to find out. But before we jump into this video, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. It really does help me out. And also be sure to subscribe and click that bell for notifications for when new videos come out. But with that said, let's just go ahead and jump right into the video.
Everything's weird, so nothing's weird anymore.
This is a story of me discovering my biological father. If you want to see part 1, click here. I kind of pointed up.
My name is Sam. This is my mom, Lauren, and then this is my sperm donor genetic father, Brian.
Hi.
What a
The whole
description.
thing was funny because I was the one who found Brian and was doing this whole huge surge after it all. Now my brother was the person who was going to more events and everything because he lived in New York. Brian had gotten my brother and his fiance tickets to the U.S. Open. Guess who else is going to be at the U.S. Open? My mom. So we found out they're going to be there on the same day. And I was like, okay, spill the beans. Like, just say everything, tell her everything, like they're going to meet.
That Lauren was kind of caught off guard because her kids didn't tell her till the last minute that they were attending the tournament and that I would be there.
So they call her that day of the U.S. Open and say that, oh, turns out we have met the donor. You know, we're actually going to the U.S. Open tonight, and he's going to be there. I knew I was going to get in trouble for the text that I responded no to. In the same day, my mom found out who the donor was and that she was actually going to be meeting him.
At first I was angry just because they surprised me. I was overwhelmed. You're always concerned when new people enter your kids' lives because holidays are split already 3 ways, and now are they going to need to be split 4 ways because now there's a third parent. In that moment, you start to overthink it. I am always feeling a little threatened. If this DNA dad, donor dad, you know, he's really cool and he lives in New York and my son lives in New York and they can go and do things that are really fun and it's different, and it just was probably the least desirable environment that one could be in to ingest news like that.
We met up at the U.S. Open at one of the breaks in the sets.
I couldn't stop staring at him because I saw physical characteristics of my kids from the second I looked at him.
So she told me that when she saw Brian, she saw those are Sam's eyes, kind of female version of nose, mouth, and she has your hands. Since then, yes, I have looked at my hands. And I have a pinky that sticks out.
But then what was great is that I was able to get together at another brunch.
That was really nice to get to meet her and really got to know each other because it was just the two of us. And so we kind of talked for hours.
So very quickly, I became very comfortable with him. I feel like we have a connection, a bond.
That's pretty cool.
We've become friends, which I think is great. I mean, we're both single and we both date, and it's really cool to have another, guy friend.
After this brunch that, Brian was super excited. He said that they were BFFs.
The day after the US Open, I told my close girlfriend, she said, "Oh my God, that's great, more to love." And I looked at her like she was crazy and said, "Are you?" Because I was still threatened. Then a few days later, I said, "You're right, that's a good way to look at it, more to love."
The whole thing was just cool, bizarre, I don't know what you want to call it, that our two genetic sources are now friends. I guess we're still navigating, like, what to call each other and everything. We're navigating social media, even, like...
What does Brian want to be called?
I mean, we just call Brian Brian.
I just prefer to be called Brian.
And then, like, if I talk to friends, I don't know, the donor, usually donor.
He kind of looks a little, like, annoyed or just kind of like done with it. He doesn't seem like he really wants to be there. I don't know if it has to do with them or just, having to be on camera, the video shoot, but I've noticed in, all of his time on, in front of the camera, he's been kind of very like, yeah, whatever, so interesting.
Biological father. I reserve dad for my dad.
I mean, for 25 years, this was a secret. We just didn't tell anyone. The kids didn't even know. And now I'm very open to say, oh, my kid's donor. I
actually just call him CB186.
One of the big questions is, does that DNA from somebody else incorporate into your genome? So no one's really quite been able to answer that question. It's been, 8 years since I did my first stem cell treatment. There's probably not a sample of my sperm still left in the freezer, okay? Well, there's none for sale anyway. I called over there to see if they had one dose left, and they don't. I would like to see if the HLA expression for me has changed before and after the stem cell treatment. So that would give you some indication of whether the DNA from the stem cells incorporates into your own DNA or not.
So is there any way you can find out if your DNA has changed based on comparing it to mine?
No, not really, because you have DNA from two separate people, so it could just be from Lauren's contribution to your DNA code.
What if they compared the Y chromosome?
Okay, so if you only compared the Y chromosome, yeah, so I suppose they might be able to do that. Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Now, after meeting Brian, I can kind of piece together my nature versus nurture a little bit more and see actually how much nurture I've gotten from my dad to make me me, and then maybe just some nature aspects that have come from Brian, and then obviously my mom too. And I think I'm just this combo of all three sources.
In my opinion, best to always tell the truth and to be open. I would just suggest that anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation just try to embrace the positive. Don't be so threatened by it. I think this has just been a great way to expand our family.
For any other kid or young adult going through this, I would tell them, no one's replacing your parents, no one's replacing anyone. That it's just how you happen to be here, and you wouldn't exist otherwise. Like, you literally wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be the person you are without all of this. It makes you unique. In this day and age, we're gonna find out anyway. So you might as well be upfront and tell us.
There are a lot of surprises in life. This is a good one.
So do you have any advice for other sperm donors who are in the same situation?
I would just recommend that if they're comfortable, that they should release their information, because obviously I think it's been a really positive experience for me. I told the sperm bank that they could release my information, but they said I was the first person that had ever contacted them about that. So I said, well, maybe it'll change now that more people are doing this online DNA analysis. I sent in my Ancestry DNA and my 23andMe, and then there's kids out there that I don't really know about, so maybe at some point they'll match up on this Ancestry DNA or 23andMe.
I think that every kid has a right to know where they come from.
I think there are plenty of half-siblings out there who don't realize they're half-siblings, so.
If parents don't tell their kids and their kids get DNA tests, they can find out by matching with other half-siblings. So then Ancestry DNA emailed me that there were updates. I go to check out DNA relatives. There's a new one that says close family to first cousin range. He's the same age as my brother. I kind of put two and two together. I'm like, okay, this could be the first half-sibling match. And I said, what?
Oh! Oh, wait. Okay. I've got to see. Is there a part 3 to... I need to find out if... or not a part 3. I need to find out if there's a part 4, because that's exactly what I've been talking about the entire time, is them finding half-siblings. So that's awesome to hear at the end. A couple of things that I noted was that the biological father, when he did a DNA test, he took Ancestry and 23andMe. And that's very interesting and a really good strategy, because Ancestry and 23andMe are the two databases where you cannot upload your raw data whatsoever. So, being an Ancestry and 23andMe, he'll be able to upload to GEDmatch, he'll be able to upload to Family Tree DNA, he'll be able to upload to MyHeritage, he'll be able to upload to GenieNet, to Living DNA. He's got a lot of options that he'll be able to upload, and then that's just that more many chances to find some other match. Most likely he'd probably be looking for a half sibling. But it would also be helpful if he or if Sam decides that she wants to look further into her genealogy through him, not just finding out his name, but finding out what's her ancestry behind him. They can use that DNA and figure it out. Another thing that they were talking about was the Y chromosome, which, he did say that's an interesting thought, that, him doing the stem cells to see what's the difference. Is there any change in his DNA? Well, his Y chromosome is passed down to his son completely unchanged, bar any possible mutations. One thing I do know is that for anyone who undergoes a bone marrow transplant, that will make it so that if you take an Ancestry DNA kit, or take any sort of these at-home DNA tests, your DNA profile may look like your donor, which is a really interesting thing. It's pretty widely known about. You can look further into it. But yeah, I wonder if he has looked further into this whole stem cell thing. And then I also wonder, have they contacted any of the half siblings, or what's the deal with that? So I will need to look and see, is there another video? But thank you for checking out this video. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It's completely free to do so. And you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. I'll see you in my next video.